Hey everyone, Scott from Hoarder's Hide here with another episode of Seven and a Half Questions. This week, welcome Kenny from Caps on Comics. How you doing, Kenny?
I'm doing great. How you doing tonight, man?
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
No problem, Scott. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah. Um, well, let's roll into your first keyword.
Okay.
All right. Keyword number one. We're going to go with cardboard.
Cardboard. All right.
Cardboard.
I
All
am
right.
writing that down on my phone so I don't forget it. Okay. I've got it stored.
All right. Great. Cardboard. Uh, First question. I've heard you talk about, the origin of your name's origin story, and it makes sense after you explain it. But why don't you tell everybody else how you came up with your YouTube handle, IG handle, and
Sure.
your logo you use?
Okay. Well, it's not anything like crazy or prolific or anything because I've definitely heard some like really interesting ones. Like I used to be a DJ, so now it's DJ this, and then I used to do all this other stuff, So um, yeah, it's nothing crazy like that. So simply put, my last name is Caps. Uh, I'm Kenny Caps, Kenneth Caps, and so I just thought it would be easy if it was Caps on Comics. Nothing crazy, just kind of blend on there. What's funny though is like so many people that know me and talk to me, they all pronounce it like singular, like Cap, like Al Cap or Andy Cap. And so I'm not a big corrector, like if you know, if you want to call me that, that's fine. Call me whatever. Like my dad always says, just call me whatever, just don't call me late for supper. you know?
Yep. Um, then the logo you use is
Sure.
that
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I always love Captain America. He's always been one of my favorite characters. So if you look at my logo, and this is a comic book that shows the infamous Captain America logo, right? And so all I did was just take the CAP and I just photoshopped.
uh-oh.
Still there?
Yep, I got you.
All right, everybody. All right, both screens went blank for just a second. But anyway, so that's all I did. I just took the CAP out of it and I just um kind of made my own thing, you know. So that's
Nice.
it. And I just, everything looks better when it's in a big circle. So that's how the logo came about. I did it all
Yep.
myself. A lot of people, they do this for money or they pay someone to do their logos for them. I've always been like artistic and I love to like mess around with Microsoft Paint and even just PowerPoint. And I built the logo all by myself. I've done my video, like my intro. That's all me. I did it all by myself. It's probably why it looks so crappy.
It's definitely a learning experience. I'm kind of the same way, a techie at heart, and I'll spend 2 days straight learning how to do something, and just to get that first video done or that first logo done. But
Yeah,
then I get bored and move on to something else. So,
sure.
um,
So like
did
the
you?
intro for like on my channel, what I did is I found this GIF of an explosion, and that's all it does. It blows up, and that's it. And so I looped it to where it's blowing up multiple times. And then I went because what's great about YouTube is they have all these free songs, free sound effects, and I just downloaded an explosion. So I had to build this intro, right? So on a multiple layer like studio thing. So there's the GIF, and then there's the sound effects of the explosions. And so then I used Microsoft PowerPoint to like draw these animation lines, and I played it on a computer. I put a black towel over my head in the computer, so it was pitch black dark, and I recorded it with my camera. That's why you can see a little bit of a shake. And then on
Right.
top of that, I did another video of me going Caps on Comics. So those hit with the explosion. So then it was just all timing and just getting these rhythms to match up. And so that's my intro.
Um, yeah, that's one way of doing it, right?
Yeah,
That the old shadow box recording. That's pretty cool. But it
yeah,
works. I mean,
that's right. Yeah, I am a
that's how it was done for years.
yeah.
Um, did you ever have any runner ups? Any other names you considered, or was it pretty much you knew from day one what you were going to call yourself?
No, I'm not a very creative person. Like I'm artistic in that I can draw, but I am only really able to draw what I can see. So like if I see something, I can draw that. It's just going to take me a while, you know? And I can pretty much draw anything I want to. I just can't like visualize something and do it. Same way with music. I'm a guitar player. Like I can play a lot of stuff, but I have never been very successful in writing my own stuff. And so when it came to names, it's like Capstone Comics. Like I just didn't put a lot of thought into it. Something I just, as Stanley would say, I just dashed it off as just this thing. I
Okay.
never thought that my channel would be watched. I didn't think it would be like I didn't think I'd get many subscribers. I really didn't. It's just because like so the summer before, my daughter wanted a YouTube channel. She's grown. She's 8. She's grown up with YouTube, and so she wanted to start a YouTube. That's how I learned to do all this editing stuff. Was it took me a long time to learn it to do it for her, and even she's had her channel for like 2 years. She only has like 21 subscribers. And so, I wasn't really expecting much more than that. I really wasn't. And when I hit 100 subscribers, it was total jubilee, you know? So I didn't think anyone was going to be watching this stuff. And so I just didn't put much thought into it.
Well, with all that fire you dropped in that first video you did, it's kind of hard not to catch catch some subs and turn some heads. That was a pretty impressive first video.
Thanks, man.
Speaking of firsts, what was the first comic you remember reading?
So I've said this before in other interviews. I'm not exactly sure which memory comes first. Like I just have these very old, like snapshot memories. And I remember being like, I remember my brother being beside me, and I remember having a Conan comic book taken from me. It was black and white. I remember that. And I remember there was a naked woman in it. And I remember my dad when he saw this, because like I was raised in the South, it was totally conservative. The satanic panic, like everything was just like so that like they were like, oh my God. So it was snatched out of my hands. That's one memory I have. And then the other memory is again me and my brother sitting and looking at a G.I. Joe comic book, like from the early 80s, like 83 or 84. And again, we're talking about this woman, and my dad's like, what are you talking about? And pulls the comic book away from me. So I honestly have no clue what the first comic book is, but it's one of those because those are the ones I remember the most. After that, I started like there was some woman at church, like her son had moved out and she was going to throw away some comic books. So she gave me some of her son's comic books. And those are like the first ones, like, and I have those right here. Those are the ones that I remember getting. And so some of the first comic books I ever got, but didn't buy, but I was given, I've got like this right here. It's Flash 269. It's
Oh,
nothing like really special about it, and it's beat up. Like, I don't think this would get a 1.0. I don't even know if it's complete, but it's in pretty gnarly shape. That was one. I got like 4 the first time, and I've kept them like in a special place. There's another one, and so their last name was Smith. So clearly written, and there's
yep.
more writing like right there. Help, help! Like the kid did not need to write that. You can see that Lois Lane is panicking, and I remember seeing this, and I'm like, why? Why is Superman in a car? Like this whole storyline was one of the most absurd things that ever happened to Superman. And then I got this one, and I remember like, I don't understand why Superman is like dealing with this Roman or Greek person. Like none of these comic books made any sense to me when I got them because like as far as I'm concerned, if you see a cover, the cover is supposed to let you know what's happening inside. And yes, they obviously somehow Superman's gotten
Yeah.
to this point where he's in ancient Greece or something. But I just didn't really worry about that. What I was focused on was the artwork, and it just sucked me in. Like this was just a pretty cool cover, you know? So yeah. Anyway, and again, for some reason, there's more pen work right around this ding ding. So anyway, so there's that one, and the last one I got from that batch was a Justice League, right? And this is cool because like it had everybody. It was good, you know. So I redrew this cover when I was a little bit older, and it wasn't very good. But you know, this is I always like love the logos of these characters, you know. So I would just draw over and over again the Superman logo, Flash, you know, Green Lantern, that kind of stuff, and that's really what got me started. So after that, excuse me, when my parents noticed that I was getting into like comic books and stuff, they bought me this. And it's my first book of Superman stories, right? And I think this is from like 85 or something. It was already old. I'm not even sure if they got it from like a flea market or something. But what was interesting to me, yeah, this is from 87. So I was 7 years old. What's interesting is like later on when I was like 12, I went in and I added like values from like Wizard Comics. I haven't checked
Okay.
these books lately to see if the price still like what they're worth now. But at like let's say 90, let's just say 1990. According to Wizard Comics, like this that first one, what is that? I don't have my glasses on. It's Superman #4. It's valued at $2,900. I'm sure it's worth a whole lot more than that. But it was a good book, and I read this thing so much. Like it introduced me to like the whole world of Superman. And as far as like connections and stuff, yeah, none of these stories like went with each other, but they did tell the tale of like Superman's origin and how he came about and became himself. So that was a good book, right? I love that one. So the first comic books I ever bought. All right. So I was a late bloomer in the whole comic book thing. I was always like really big into toys and stuff. And I've just been reading this book that is called Slugfest by I think his name is yep, I can't remember his name right now. I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, it's a great book. I'll send you the link later. It's awesome. And he talks about like how like comic books and toys were pretty much synonymous in the 80s. Like, everything that you can imagine a toy line, there was some connecting comic book, whether the
Uh,
comic book came first, then the
was it
toy.
Reed Tucker?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a great book. It's got a lot of really good dirt in it. And so he talks about you just get to this age and it's just time to cut off. So right before my cutoff time, the first two comic books I ever bought was the whole Dead Superman. And
Right.
so like this is like so okay, this is Adventures of Superman. And then this one came next, the Action Comics. But this
Right.
one was like the last copy left in the newsstand at Walmart, and they had a bunch of these. So I got these two books. Those are the first ones I ever bought. I spent like my whole week's allowance just on those two books. And then I got hooked. And I bought every Superman issue that they produced. They were producing 4 titles at that time. So it was like Action Comics, Adventures of Superman, Superman, and Man of Steel. And I bought all of those for the next 2 years. I think it was like by the time so like Mullet Superman had finally come back and he's in his suit and everything. And I just got to the point where it's like, you know, it wasn't really interesting to me. And so there were other things pulling me in other directions. So that's my
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. I like when you mentioned that about what's being on the cover without any words should tell you what's on the inside. And how many comics do you see today where there will literally be characters or multiple characters on the cover, that have nothing to do with the story, aren't contained within the pages of the book.
Yeah.
They're just on the cover to sell books.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy though, you know?
Um, and it's funny that you mentioned that Conan, because I have the same memories from when I was young. I couldn't tell you what the exact first comic I read was, but I remember the black and white Conans because they had naked women on the covers,
Yeah.
and then I had Hulks and Spider Mans, but I don't remember what I read first. One Hulk issue stands out, and other than that, it's just kind of a blur. I know that's what I read. Um, until I really started in the hobby in college. So, but you hear similar things from a lot of collectors who actually started when they were young. It's kind of blurry as to what that very first book was. Um, yeah, pretty interesting.
I know that in both of those situations, my dad was self-employed. He was a welder, and what he did was like he would get called out to these logging companies to fix their trailers and stuff. And I know that these comic books were tossed at me to like, here, sit here, shut up, read this book, don't go anywhere. And then find out it's like they're being way too quiet. Something's going on. I was like, Jesus, they're looking at boobs. It's just, you know,
Yeah, actually, my dad probably would have taken it from me and then given me a Playboy, but um, they hear you're too young to read. Just look at the pictures. Um, so, all right. Have you gone to pick up any of those old Conans or GI Joes? Maybe wondering if something will click, and you go, "Yeah, I really remember that cover now," or "I remember that naked woman," or something along those lines.
now I haven't thought about that. That's actually a pretty great idea. I haven't done that. I know that I do have some GI Joe comic books that are from like the 90s, but obviously not any of those are the right ones. And the only Conan comic books I own are back here. And it's the first appearance of Conan and Red Sonja.
Right.
But yeah, that is a good idea. The problem is it could literally be any comic book of that run. So it's like probably like the Savage sort of Conan. Like I'm not the Conan expert, but I know like I think that's the one that was black and white. And
Yeah, that was the larger, oversized format, black and white. I know that's what mine was. I actually just picked up about a 40 issue run. I'm starting to do the Conan thing, so um, I don't know that it'll jog any memories, but something else to add to my list.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll have to do that someday when I get the chance.
All right, you ready for your second keyword?
Yeah, sure.
All right, first one was cardboard.
Uh-huh.
So for your second keyword, let's go with ivory.
Okay.
Ivory.
All right. I
And
have got it.
I usually just I look around the shop here and just random things pop into my head. And I looked down and I saw a dark ivory comic. So that's where ivory came from today.
All right.
Um,
Well, that's awesome.
all right. When it comes to your personal collection, um, what's your favorite? I think I know the answer to some of these already. What's your favorite age, genre, publisher, and title?
Okay. So, age is easy, right? I love Silver Age. The Silver Age is the best for me. That's when we get
See,
like,
I would have guessed gold, but that's
yeah, gold is a very fun, like alternate dimension kind of like awesome. Because the superheroes that I grew up with and the same ones that I'm like making my children get into, that's all Silver Age, right? With the exception of like really like Superman's origins, Batman's origins, and Wonder Woman's. Because everyone else's origins have been changed at some point or another. Hell, even Wonder Woman's origin was changed in like the late 50s, early 60s. I don't know exactly the number. There's this iconic cover. Wonder Woman is fighting Wonder Woman, and that's when they like change her origin story. But other than that, like, yes, all the costumes, all the characters, that's all like what we know and what we're familiar with and what we're watching on TV today in the movie theaters and stuff. That's Silver Age and on. Golden Age stuff is it's just fascinating because it's just so bizarre. And there were literally like no laws. It's like I just imagine the internet. You could do whatever you wanted to. And that's what happened. Like these guys gave zero shits and they did exactly what they wanted to. There was no code. You didn't have to worry about a Senate subcommittee coming in and just doing all this stuff. And so there was just freedom that is just it's just so much fun to look at those comic books. Even the advertisements are just bonkers, you know? So
Yeah.
they're fun to look at, fun to read. I do love them. But for me, the Silver Age is my favorite. As far as a company, I do love DC a lot, but I have to go with Marvel. Like they just revolutionized everything, and so I'd have to go with Marvel on that. And so I figured if you want to, I'll show you some of my Silver Age comic books.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely. That's what we're here
And
for.
this is why the Silver Age is the best age. So starting off with Carmine Infantino's The Flash, right? Showcase 4. This book is what started it all. There are arguments that the first appearance of Martian Manhunter and Detective Comics 226 started off the Silver Age, but no, I argue that it's The Flash. Showcase 4.
I would agree with you there. Showcase started the Silver Age.
Yeah. And so like this is just an iconic comic book. Like this started it all. Like superhero comic books were dead with the exception of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, right? So yes, you have Aquaman and Green Arrow. They're still in publication. It's just that they're not making any covers. Like they're buried in the back of other books. And so when this book came out, like it just seriously changed everything. Its popularity led to Showcase 22, right? Hal Jordan, which is by far my favorite Green Lantern. So I did a video on this. There's like 7, 8, 9. There's a ton of Green Lanterns. And Alan Scott from the Golden Age is cool, but his costume is just bizarre, right? By the way, I did get a comic book stand so I could sit everything, but the trench that was dug to put the comic book in is not nearly big enough. And so some of these slabs are like thicker than others.
Yep.
So they won't sit in there. And I'm not even gonna go on to that. But anyway, this cover is just awesome. Like Hal Jordan's awesome. He's a fighter pilot. He's not a railroad engineer, which was cool in the 30s and 40s. But Hal Jordan's a fighter pilot, and so it's just a cool costume. He's a cool character, and it's really cool. So between those, right, Julie Schwartz gets the idea, hey, let's make a super team. All right. And then we have the Justice League. So much cooler than the Justice Society. If you look at the first appearance of the Justice, I'm going to make somebody sick. I can't hold it still. If you look at the first appearance of the Justice Society, they're just sitting at a table. They're just sitting around like, who's going to bring his coffee? But so like, even though they're fighting a starfish, there's a lot of action here, and I love that there's not Batman and Superman here. A lot of people think that when the Justice League started, it's had Batman and Superman, but no, they wanted Martian Manhunter to be like Superman, so like it wasn't like too much of the same. And even though Green Lantern's not on the cover, he'll eventually be one of the members. And I cannot hold this thing still. I have to do 2 hands. But anyway, it's just an awesome cover. And without this, we would have never gotten the Fantastic Four, And to me, this is probably my favorite Kirby cover. That's because, like before then, so Kirby had been drawing westerns, romance, monsters. And the monster on this cover looks amazing. He looks awesome. Now, as far as the Fantastic Four, they're blocky. They're typical Kirby, you know. But like the fire on Johnny Storm is just awesome. So that's a great cover. Now you keep going, like they're good, but they're just not, to me, they're not the same. This first appearance of Hulk, like it's such a great cover too. And it's so weird to see like Hulk's gray. Bruce Banner's got blonde hair.
Y-
You got the Rosses in the background. And so like,
And
go ahead.
yeah, and how many times has that cover been copied? You know,
Yeah,
that's
100 times, right? 1,000. But what's great is like, so they put these word balloons on there. They're letting you know like there's a lot of stuff happening here. Versus like the Justice League. Oh no, that one. Not a whole lot going on there. Yeah, they've told you like it's the mysterious Starro, but like the characters aren't talking. They're like so busy, like breathing heavy or whatever. You don't really know what they're thinking. And then my second favorite Kirby cover, Amazing Fantasy 15, right? So like, I mean, once Spider-Man came out, there you could not, like everything was changed. Everything was no longer the way it was. And I've talked about this cover a lot. I love this cover and the fact that like he looks like that's Tobey Maguire to me, right? That's you know,
yeah,
when Steve Ditko draws Spider-Man, he's much more slender, like Andrew Garfield or even Tom Holland. But this, I mean, this Tobey Maguire was like, you know, a stovepipe, just small, compact, and that's just such a cool cover. I love that one. Love it to death. This one, another great one, and there's just so much action and like Thor, you know. How could you not love the Silver Age, man? All these great, like this is the time. This is probably one of my least favorite covers, though. Right? It's so fucking boring. I didn't know if I could use profanity.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. You can cuss all you want. You
it's
watch Black
it's
Comics, right?
yeah, yeah. It's so boring though. Like it's like I got my boots, I got my torso thing, and I'm Iron Man. So yeah, compared to like some of the others, and this is another great one, right? The Avengers, the answer to the Justice League, you know? So yeah, I mean, and I'll do three more, all right? X-Men. This one was kind of like another one that I never really understood. Like, where's the beast? What is this thing coming from? Um, Magneto, like he's got the power of metal. How is Cyclops like what's going on with that? Like he can't penetrate, like is it a magnetic like bubble? And the Iceman's just like totally missing. But it's like,
Yeah.
hey, Jack, I need you to draw a cover for a new comic book called the X-Men. You have 5 minutes, and boom, that's what Kirby did for us.
Well, that's even before Stormtroopers. So I mean, because everybody that wears white misses.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Two more. All right. You can't talk about the Silver Age without Captain America. Like he's my guy. Like I love Captain America, and this is a great storyline too. You know, because like at this time, like is Namor good? Is Namor bad? You know, and as far as like what's going on in the country at the time, like this was a messed up time. To have Captain America back was just kind of like, I mean, I'm not like it's not like I was there, but it's just cool to have Captain America back, and he's been the same since then. And then my last favorite Silver Age, Daredevil. God, I love the Netflix Daredevil series, and I hope that Matt Murdock or um Charlie Cox, I hope that he's in the next Spider-Man movie. How awesome would that be? So because of that, like that's why I firmly believe, boom, it's all about the Silver Age. It's all about Marvel. Yes, Marvel would not have been without DC because DC really was the inspiration. Like, and for so many years, like all Marvel did was just do what they did best, and that was do what everybody else did, just a little bit later and a little bit less until like the Fantastic Four. It just changed everything. They're great books. As far as a title that I would read, it would be a toss up between Fantastic Four and Spider Man because a character is only as good as their rogues gallery, right? Like
Right.
I think that's one of the reasons why Batman is so popular is because he's got great villains. Like the Joker's one of the best villain ever. And in the first 10 issues of Spider-Man, you've got some great villains. You've got like um well, Green Goblin, you've got the Lizard, the Sandman, Doctor Doom's in the Fantastic Four. Doctor Doom's one of the coolest villains ever, you know? So it really is a toss up of who is it's like who's got the best villains, and I don't know. It would I'd have to probably go with Spider-Man. So there's the official answer to that
That's the
question.
official answer. And
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. The a good guy is only as good as the bad guys he faces.
Yeah, yeah. Otherwise it's just boring.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, every single book you pulled out, just iconic cover. Everybody knows what it is without even having to say. I mean,
Yeah. I'm gonna be
um,
doing a video soon. It'll probably release next week. Comic book tattoos. And there's pictures of people that just have the covers tattooed on 'em. Not the character, but the cover. And it's like, that's an iconic cover right there. Just to, and so
right.
like Action Comics #1, Amazing Fantasy 15, those two covers have been replicated so many times. Like even Amazing Spider-Man 252 when he's in the black suit, and then you have Deadpool doing it, and then you have Gwen Stacy, and it's the same thing with Action Comics #1. It's just a great cover.
Yeah, and just this will come out on the 18th. So anything you release up until then, I mean, if you want to talk about, anything that's coming out after that, I don't know how far ahead you plan your releases, but
Yeah,
um,
at one point, so I had to take a break over the summer because I was doing school stuff, but like I had banked up all of these videos. I was releasing videos in August that I had shot in June. I had like 8 ahead, and then it all caught up. And like this last week was a struggle to get because like I didn't want to do 2 toy themed videos back to back because it's not caps on toys, it's caps on comics. But I have other interests, like there's only so many red M&Ms that you can eat before you're like, I gotta have a green M&M. And so I ran out of time. And so like this week I've been trying to get 2 videos done. It's just to find the time to do this stuff. It's kind of hard to do. But I'm trying my best to work up a couple of episodes just to get like a nice buffer zone that if I feel like if I get sick or something, I can just take the
right,
week off.
right. Um, so if you could only read one age the rest of your life, it would be Silver Age books.
Yes.
Only read one genre, superhero.
Superhero, yeah. I didn't mention that, but I feel like it was probably implied.
Right.
Westerns are cool. Like westerns are fun. I don't do the horror stuff. I've never
I know
understood
I've
that.
seen a couple of westerns in your collection. I've seen a couple of war titles in your collection, but definitely predominantly superhero.
Yep, that's me.
So, well, only read one publisher. Is that going to be Marvel?
Yeah, I have to go with Marvel on that one.
And then Spider Man's going to be the title you marry for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I guess so.
Mm.
And that's my desert island title.
All right. Um, and it's another one that it's got a lot of different Spider-Man spin-offs, offshoots. How many titles does Spider-Man have every
Yeah,
week? Maybe not as many as Batman, but
yeah.
um, but awesome, awesome, awesome. Um, His next question is I get different answers from everybody. I'm really always interested in this.
Sure.
The answer to this question. Um, what's that one collectible that got away from you? Which I can only imagine what that would be based on what you actually have behind you. So what's that one thing that got away?
So I thought about this a lot because I've tried to think of a comic book that I desperately wanted or needed. Because I don't need any of this. I just want it, right? Um,
Right.
I could not think of one comic book that I missed out on because everything that I have wanted. When I got back into collecting, I was just interested in completing a run of Superman comic books. I wanted to try to get Superman 1 up to like 200, and I quickly realized that getting a Superman number 1 is going to be just unheard of. That's not going to happen. So let's try to go like 100 to like 200. So I started doing this, and then I realized that like if I'm going to do this, and spend money on something, I want to get as much bang for my buck. And I'm not like a speculator. I will argue that all day. I don't speculate. I know that these comic books have potential. I know that they are valuable, and I know that they are going to continue to escalate in value every day. My comic book collection has is more than doubled in the last year. The collecting, I don't know what the hell's happened, but it has gone nuts. And I've said this multiple times too. I haven't bought a comic book in months because the prices are just going nuts. It's just I think it's foolish to buy like a super key right now when like oh my god, like with Spider Carnage and Venom, those comic books are over $1,000 now. It's like seriously, and I just have a feeling that at some point the bubble's going to pop. Books are going to be more collectible. So, but because of that, like I made a list of these are the comic books I want that are significant, you know, and I just started picking them off one at a time. And if I didn't find it on an auction, there was a good buy it now, and I'd say 99% of my stuff has been bought off eBay. I had no problem with that. You know, if I miss one, no big deal, get something later. But the thing that I regret missing the most is is something on eBay. I'm a big fan of music. My favorite band is called Cold, right? And over time, they've put out 6 albums. So the thing that I missed on eBay, and I'm pulling up a picture of it now. I had to search for a while to find it too because the listing was sold months ago. But this is a gold record, right? And so
Oh,
it's an
wow.
album. Yeah, and this case is huge. And then the bottom picture is a zoom in of this label that's like right over here. So anyway, so
Yeah.
this is Cold's second album, 13 Ways to Bleed on Stage. And the copy that they had on eBay, they had misspelled one of the guitar players' name. So his name is Kelly Hayes, and it's spelled the normal, like you would think, Kelley. But for some reason, on the plaque, it's spelled Kelley. Also, someone had taken on top of the case, someone had drawn like little characters of the band members, and then so over top they had put the names, but they had mixed up the names of two of the musicians. So it was just it had an interesting story to it. So the thing is, like when you win a gold record, it doesn't just go to the band members, right? It goes to like everybody that's involved with that record,
Right.
the producers. I mean, management, like oh no, it's nuts. So they put out a bunch of these, so they're fairly easy to get. I wanted this one because this was Kelly Hayes's, but it was messed up, so they took it back and gave him another one. It wound up getting sold, and whoever bought it gave it to Cold's newest bass player because so they had one bass player for the entire career for like 20 years. And now the bass player is Lindsay Manfredi. She's amazing. And she's a huge Cold fan too. They gave it to her. So now she has it. So like it would have just been awesome. I want to show you this too. So this is my Cold collection. So you can see this is my music room. So I've got some handwritten lyrics right here by the singer Scooter Ward. That's from like my favorite song. This piece up here, this is some artwork done by the drummer Sam McCandless. He's awesome. He's also doing his own comic book,
Oh, wow.
and so he's a great artist. I got stuff everywhere. So this is the only CGC copy of his first comic book. And it's more like magazine format, but he just recently made a deal with Second Sight, and they're going to be taking his comic book and republishing it in like comic book form. But the drummer is also famous for designing their logo. So I don't know if you're familiar with them or not. They have a very ravenous fan base, and they're easily like they're my Grateful Dead.
Yeah,
But
I've,
yeah, so
I've
I just
got I've got it written down so I can look for them.
yeah, so like, and I just have a bunch of their other stuff. I got like their some of their CDs autographed and stuff, and so that is the collectible, the thing that got away. And I was so upset that I missed it. And it wasn't because of a money thing. Like it only sold for like $300, which I know to some people is a lot. But I had like set aside like 350, 400-ish for it because I wanted it really bad. And I missed it because I was not paying attention. So like what happens with eBay is like, they'll send you a notification. The auction ends in like 15 minutes, right? Well, so I had like a 6 month old at the time, and our first year, she was born right in the middle of quarantine. It was nuts because she's just a year old now. So like she has just taken up a lot of our time. She's been a big handful, and I was busy dealing with the baby. I don't even remember what it was at the time. It was like maybe changing a poopy diaper or something. And I looked, and the auction was over, and I was so pissed off. Like I was just basically going down the list of saying every cuss word you can imagine. I talked about it and complained and whined about it for easily 2 weeks, to the point where my wife was like, "You just gotta let it go. Just got to let it go. You're it's ruining
Yeah.
everything." But it hurt my soul. It was I'm glad that it's in a happy place. Um, but I still want it, you know.
And that's something that you're never, you might see another gold record, but you're not going to see that gold record.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so that's not much chance of being able to find that one. Um, is there anything that you wish would have gotten away?
Yes.
Anything
Have
you,
one of those stories. It was
which most people do not. That's what I find interesting. Most people don't have a regret story. So let's hear it.
so it took me, I was trying to keep it comic book central, but I was like, why not talk about this golden record? But the deal with the regret, yeah, that one was fast, and it's toy related, action figures. So I got back into collecting comic books. I made some purchases, and what I would do when I started off collecting was I started off with just Amazing Fantasy 15s. I bought one with a big chunk of money, sold it, made $1,000 profit a month later. Took that, bought another AF-15, sold that, and I kept building up this little cash reserve. Well, I took that money and I'd been drinking over Christmas, and I saw this YouTube video that someone had the Kenner superpower lines from like back in the day, right? And I wanted these so bad. I grew up in the country, Scott. Like it was far removed from everything. The malls were at least an hour and a half away, up into 2 and 3 hours. So Tuscaloosa was an hour and a half away. Mobile was 2 hours. Birmingham was 3 hours. And Birmingham had this gigantic mall called the Galleria, right? And that was like the only place that you could really find superpower toys. So my parents would never go to Birmingham, but I had friends in school, and they'd be playing with their Batmans and stuff. Like they got their superpowers, and like, oh, look at my superpowers, and I'm like, you know, my parents won't buy me any, but I had tons of He-Man, so my He-Man could. I mean, they were so much bigger. So anyway, I'm looking at this video and I'm like, oh man, I want this. So I look, and this is the first one I bought. I've had him. I have not sold him. This is my first Superman that I ever owned. I was in my 30s by the time I got him, but I love it, and I'll be talking more about him in a little bit. Oh, so this is the original 12 superheroes, right? Superheroes and villains, the first line. And so I bought all those. I spent like $1,000 on those. And because I mean, even back like 6, 7 years ago, they're very popular toy line and they're worth a lot of money. And the collectors in that group are just ravenous, right? So this does lead to something. I am eventually getting there. I noticed that in buying those first 12, that in some ways these superpower toys were worth a lot more than some of the comic books that I was looking at. Like the cyborg toy at the time was selling for $1,000 for a carded cyborg. Now you can't even find them. You go look on eBay for a cyborg, and all they have are like the Spanish aftermarket ones. They don't even have an American one there. And if they do, they had one that sold for like $2,000 not too long ago. And at the time, like, when I was first starting to get into like buying these high grades, like you could get like a first appearance of Iron Man for like 2,000. So I realized that if I bought like a massive lot of toys of these superpowers, I could sell those off and then build up some money. So I had this idea. I didn't really talk about it with anybody because I knew it was a bad idea, but I figured I needed to do it anyway. So, and that's how you know it's about it. If you don't run it by your wife, like it's just fucked up. I should have talked to her about it. So I sold, and I had so I met up with this guy who worked for Comic Connect at a Baltimore Comic Con, and I brought a whole bunch of comic books. I want to auction these off. I took my at that time the most recent copy of Amazing Fantasy 15 I had, so that I had some great World War II Golden Ages, and um that I regret selling those World War II, the Golden Age World War II covers more than the AF-15 because I got another AF-15 after that, but I have still not re-got those Golden Age World War II covers. They're just so rare. They're just impossible to find. So I sold all those. They make a deal with you from Comic Connect. Like if you're gonna auction with us, we will cut you a check for half the value upon like receiving your comic books. So they cut me a $5,000 check. Boom, here you go. I was like, thank you. They took my AF-15 and like 9 Golden Age comic books. And we're talking about like I had 3 like Captain Marvel or Shazam, whatever you want to call them. I still haven't. One is like it's Mount Fuji and it's like Captain Marvel swats the Japs, and it's a really great cover. I mean, it's racist as shit, but I still can't find it. Another one was um, it's like the Flash. Flash is running in. There's like um, no, that's another one. Oh, Green Lantern. That's it. Green Lantern's walking and he's with this guy behind him, like Doiby Diggles, and it's like we're signing up for them for the army. There's a bunch of really good stuff, and I really hated I got rid of that. So I took that check and I bought. There was this collection on eBay. It was a massive collection of super Kenner superpowers. So last week I just put out a video on me unboxing this collection of He-Man toys. But the thing is like that wasn't one collection. I bought these all over eBay. I just waited for all of them to come in and just unbox them all at once, you know?
Okay.
But this superpowers collection, it was by one person. Like it was their collection, bought from like Toys R Us and stuff like that. So it's all theirs. It was only missing the Batman helicopter. So he wanted $6,000 for it. But I call him, I'm like, hey, I'm willing to give you $5,000 for it. And it came down between me. So this toy store was out of like New Jersey. I'm in Virginia, and somebody in California wanted it, and it offered him 5,000. The only thing it came down to, he had free shipping, and I won because it was cheaper for him to ship this stuff to Virginia than to ship it across the country. So I get like 4 massive boxes. So there's like 25 to 30 characters. There are play sets, tons of stuff. I tried to start, and so at this point, I've lost all my comic books. I'm down to nothing on this wall, except for like the stuff I collected as a kid that are in like long boxes somewhere else. And I have all these toys, and I don't really know what to do with them. I start trying to sell them, and yeah, they're selling for good money, but I didn't realize, like, that if you ship a comic book, shipping will eat your ass alive. But with
Yeah.
the toys, the shipping was so much worse because you have to deal with these bigger boxes. And after selling, minus like that known fee that you know that you're going to pay eBay, the shipping costs, I was just losing so much money. It was just a bad, horrible mistake. So finally, I sold enough down out of that collection. The auction ended with Comic Connect. I got the rest of my money. I saved all that money and then slowly saved up a little bit more and got myself another Amazing Fantasy 15. So after that, I was like, I'm done with toys. I'm not buying any more toys. And I just spent the next few years rebuilding this collection. So that I regret that so much. Like I just wish I would have never done that. Just but the best way to learn is through failure.
It's right. It's right. Easier to it's better to learn from somebody else's mistakes, but that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you almost across the board have to experience it yourself to for it to sink in. Oh,
Yeah.
but did you end up more or less breaking even on all those toys? Did you make something on them, or
No, it was a pretty much break even. I thought that I was gonna come out of this making all this great money, and I didn't. It just did not pan out the way I thought it would. And I didn't. Well, no, I can't even say that I broke even. I mean, in the long run, I'm ahead of what I was then because we're talking. I think it's like 4 or 5 years ago. But at the time, like I went so far in the red,
right?
it was just it was a shame.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I missed probably 5 minutes of that because my router died and rebooted, and so you were just talking on your own. You did awesome.
All
So
right, cool.
I'll pay attention to it on the rewind when I do
No,
the
it's fine. Like
post
I'm a
edit.
jukebox. You put the quarter in, you got to hear the whole song.
Well, you're cheap if you still run on a quarter. So,
Sure.
um, all right. Ready for another keyword?
Sure. Yeah, let me get my list ready. All right.
Um, let's see here. I'll steal something from your wall. Let's use vision. So you've got cardboard, ivory, and vision.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going
Okay.
to do with that.
Oh, I'm sure you'll come up with something. All right, now for my favorite part of the interview, the art questions.
Sure.
So who are your favorite artists?
Okay. Being an old school collector, like I love the older stuff. And so my favorite all-time artist is Alex Schomburg. So this is Captain America Comics number 29. And a lot of people think, oh, it's Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. But no, this is actually a Schomburg cover. But he was just awesome. And he was so great that like Kirby and Simon like kind of emulated him a little bit. And his features are just a little different, but he still like packs a wallop and there's so much action.
Right.
I love this cover, and this is the only Schomburg that I have, and I love this. I paid $1,000 for this random Captain America comic book. Like there's nothing special about it. It's a great World War II cover. It's got Nazis that are getting the crap beat out of them. But yep, that's my only Schomburg cover, and I'm so proud of this. Coming
Yeah,
up
some of
next,
his covers you can get reasonable. It depends on what book it's on and what the subject matter is, but there, yeah, some of them you can get reasonable.
yeah, Kirby. I love Kirby. Like he's the master. He's the king. And so this is the first appearance of Silver Surfer, right? And not on the cover. And it's not particularly like one of his greatest covers, but it's so Kirby though, because you've got the fingers, the hands always stretching forward, and that's just typical him. But I love the way that he drew. I love his style of art. I just love his action. Like
Uh,
it's the way that Kirby drew, it's like either just before something really horrible happens or just after. And it was just amazing. Like Kirby didn't just think like an artist. Like he had this like conceptual way of just looking at a scene and playing it out. And he's the best. I love Kirby to death. So next, this is my favorite comic book cover in the whole collection. Jim Steranko, man, he's
Mm,
the master, and this cover is just awesome.
yeah.
Like
What's one I don't have yet, but that's on my list.
I only paid $80 for this. This was not a very expensive comic book, and it's only like the origin of Shield, so it's not really a key. It's just great Steranko art. Like this is like him in his prime, top of his game, and it's definitely my favorite Steranko cover. It's hypnotizing, like literally and
It-
figuratively. It's great.
right, and I mean, you can tell just by the art, his choices on it, the time period that, this kind of psychedelic look to it.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, that's what everybody was doing then, or trying to do.
exactly right. The Hendrix of artists. Okay, next, Neil Adams. I love Neil Adams, and
Okay, yeah,
again, another artist that like nobody wanted to hire. And this is one of his iconic covers, right? He always did great Green Lantern. And I love John Stewart. He's such an awesome character. But this is my favorite Neil Adams cover that I own. I have a few others, but I just love this cover. It's not as awesome as Green Lantern, Green Arrow, where like Green Arrow's shooting the whatever thing. His lantern, that he's
oh
named
yeah,
after. Sweet Jesus. Okay. All right. So those are four. And then my fifth favorite artist, Jose Garcia Lopez, right? He did all this artwork. And I've shown you this Superman, so I'll skip on. What? Batman?
actually,
No.
that's my first time seeing that Superman, but
Okay.
everybody else would have seen it by now.
Well, yeah. So the thing about Jose Garcia Lopez is that he's the one who did the 77 or 76 style guide for DC. And so the all of like what I grew up with, that look of those characters, it's all him. And so that's his artwork that is on these toys, right? And he got
Right?
paid a little extra for that. And then they're just great pictures. That's what I loved about these toys. They not only came with awesome toys, they came with comic books, and like the covers are great, you know? Aquaman, everybody's favorite, orange guy in the sea with a little fish. Even Wonder Woman looks great. Two more. What's awesome about Green Lantern is like some kind of weird mistake. His shoulder is like, where's my finger? His shoulder is like grayish, blackish when it clearly should be green.
Oh yeah,
I don't know why it was like miscolored. Yep. But that's Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. And last one. That's a great picture of Hawkman. So I met him at a Baltimore Comic Con. And so like I don't own any original artwork. Like I don't have like the interior pages of a comic book or a cover. And some of those covers can like really, really be valuable. Like if you look at some of like the big names like Kirby and Ramita and Dick Ayers, just any of those, like Neil Adams, whatever.
yeah,
Those pieces of original artwork are worth thousands of dollars. You can find some on eBay that are in the hundreds that are a lot cheaper, and I just never got into it. But the only piece of artwork I have is from Garcia Lopez. When I met him, I'm like, hey, I'm a big fan. Can you just draw me a Superman? And like he didn't speak any English, so he had like his assistant translate. He's like, he doesn't do artwork right now. And so I'm like, Superman, please. And so he just did this for me real quick. And it only took him like a second. And it's nothing major, but I just love he's such a nice person. And his artwork's fantastic. And I just grabbed it. I was like, thank you so much. I was so happy with it. And I got one more thing to show you. It's again nothing spectacular. But this I got to meet Denny O'Neil right before he passed away. And so when he signed his name, let me get his well, it doesn't matter. He's deceased. That's his phone number. But just in case. That's a signature, and he drew this bat over it. You know, he's not an artist or anything, but he just doodled a little bat. So I love him so much. All the other signatures I have, it's just a dash off. You know, here's my signature. So that's my original art.
So, what about your own? You said you draw yourself.
Yeah, I actually have something on the wall, like way back there. I can get it if you want to see it.
Yeah, why don't you?
All right. It's a good thing I wore pants tonight.
It was really
So
just a test.
this is based off of a Kirby sketch, and I got it in on the auction guide from Heritage Comics, Heritage Auctions, and it was just this picture that Kirby drew, and so I thought it'd be fun to trace it, you know, redo it. So I copied it and drew it out. The shield is all crooked. I needed like a compass, but it was really fun doing all the shading. So that's me drawing.
It's better than I can do. I need a ruler and an eraser to draw a stick figure. So
That's
yeah,
funny.
I'm always amazed by anybody that can do anything artistic.
Thanks.
So
I've been on Lamer Frame, and I've been on In Between the Lines, and
yeah, I
La-
thought I saw you on cardboards.
yeah, Lamer Frame is fun. Excuse me. There's just not a lot of time to do a lot with. You know, you have to be super good, and you got to be fast. And most of the time, you're just drawing faces, which I've never been particularly good at. Between the Lines was much more relaxed and fun, and so I got to spend an hour drawing something, and those are fun shows. So um, I love watching them. They're great.
So do you have plans to is getting some original art in your future? Are you going to start looking for interiors or covers or
Yeah, sure.
sketch covers or something along those lines?
Absolutely. Again, big fan of the Superpowers collection that I just showed you not too long ago. I did look, and you can actually get like some of the interior pages of the Superpowers comic book that Kirby did for like $450, which for a piece of original Kirby art, that's nothing. It's just that I don't really know what I'm gonna do with it. Like space in the man cave is very limited, and I don't know what I would do with something like that. If that would be just putting it in a closet somewhere safe, or actually trying to display it. So there's so much more than just getting some original art. I did buy some. So a couple months ago, Manny from the Chamar Show Live
Yep.
had me on his show, and as a thank you, I bought some original artwork. I got this. It was from Miles Morales Spider Man, and it was just one of the interior pages. Spider Man's not even on it. It just looked nice. It was a pretty good deal, and I thought he may like it, so I bought it. And when it came in, it was huge, you know, because it's obviously not the size of a comic book, you know. It was way bigger than I thought it was. So that was really cool. I just yeah. So one of these days, yes, I will get some original artwork. It's just a matter of time.
I mean, based on what's on the wall behind you in the way of books, I can only imagine what the artwork's going to look like when you start picking it up. So
Yeah. Well, thank you.
yeah, you're definitely going to have to make some room though, because you're right, it takes up a lot of real estate.
Yeah.
I joke around. I'm going to have to figure out a way to put mine on the ceiling because I don't have any
Yeah.
more wall space.
Yeah. My ceiling's clear right now. I used to have some Kenner Star Wars toys, like tied with like fishing string, hanging from the ceiling, but it made it too shady in here, so I had to take them down. Yeah, I had the trench run from Star Wars. You know, had the X-wing here, and then I had Darth Vader and the X-wing. I mean, a Tie Fighter with the Millennium Falcon behind it. It was awesome.
Yeah, definitely can't wait to see you venture into that realm. So maybe we'll see you on on the show with Coffee on the Art Hour. Then,
Yeah, maybe so.
all right. Well, what do you collect besides comics and comic related things? I mean, we know you got your music interest with your band. Was it Cold? Was the name of the band?
Yep.
So, what else? What else do you collect?
Well, I collect a lot of stuff. If it's even like remotely interesting to me, I will collect it. If it's not dangerous, I get the seal of approval from the wife. Yeah. So that's basically it. Um so before I got back into comic books, I'd always been fascinated with like military history and military items and stuff. And then so
Because
I used
you
to
are in the military, correct?
yes, I was in the army from 2003 until 2007. I was out for a while, and then I got called back in active ready reserve. And I was back in for like another 9 months, and I got medically separated. So yeah,
Yeah. And
I was in the
thank you
army.
for your service.
Thank you, no problem. Appreciate that. So yeah, as a kid, like I was fed World War II stories. So both of my grandfathers were in World War II. So same thing with my wife. Both of her grandfathers were in World War II. And so like I just grew up like hearing these stories and uh I wanted to be in the army, but like I'm to be honest, it was just kind of one of those things that I kind of screwed up my life a little bit and I needed direction and the army was really the only thing that I had to go. And then coincidentally 9/11 happened, so it's like, well, there's nothing really I can do except for join the army. It was good for me, but by the time like I got in, like we were at war with Iraq and stuff. Um, so, but yeah, just like growing up and watching like Rambo and all the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and stuff, I just liked military stuff. So I started collecting like rifles and things like that, and helmets, and so um, I have a lot of military stuff around me. So like I collect flags. I got a British flag that's right here, a Japanese flag that's there. I can take pictures if you want to see those. Um, Over here, I've got a bunch of stuff to show you though. So let me just move some more stuff. We'll start off with helmets. So this is a French Adrian helmet. This is the first metal helmet ever produced, and it was
Well,
made for World War One, but they used the same ones in World War Two. All right. It's a pretty successful helmet, it's pretty cool. These would be swapped out. So this is like an engineering company. You swap those out for whatever little regiment you're in.
okay.
Um, this one, this is a Nazi helmet. It was found on Normandy Beach. It's got a big old crack right in it. So um, the chances of this guy surviving that, I mean, it's war, right?
At a minimum, he had a headache,
Yeah. So there's that one. And then typical US helmet. Yep.
right?
Yeah. So like it's just so John Wayne. My head's so big it doesn't fit. It just barely goes on there like that. But yeah, they're fun, They're cool. I had so much stuff spread out. I had to like spread it out all over the place. So my grandfather's hat from World War II, his little enlisted guy's hat. Everybody wore to the side, all canted and stuff. This is like in a cabinet that's just over there. I keep it all locked up because the kids want to play with them. It's like, don't touch that. This is my wife's grandfather. He was in the Navy. He was in the Pacific, so he was at like Guadalcanal and stuff. And so this is his captain's hat. Those over there. I have some Nazi coins. So like this is like a 5-cent piece.
Right? Yeah.
Yep,
That's
there's
from
he-
Germany or
Yeah.
one of their.
Yeah, that's from Germany. That's Hitler on the back. And so that one's kind of hard to see, you know. But anyway, like that's the old Nazi coins. These are like you can buy these on eBay, but you're not really supposed to sell stuff that's got swastikas on them. So a lot of times, if you look up German coins from World War II, they'll have like censored buttons over like the swastikas and stuff. Yeah, you can't really see any of that.
Now, yeah, I found out it depends on the actual true historical value of it.
Hmm.
Um, because I tried to sell some things I picked up at an auction, and some of them had swastikas on them. And the one they pulled that they wouldn't let me sell was a reproduction piece with a swastika on it.
Reproduction, that's something.
And that's what their answer was that there's no historical value to that piece that you're trying to sell.
Huh,
Don't do it again.
that's
But
interesting.
but but the original pieces that were Nazi propaganda, they it was historical. So they now that was 15 years ago, and their policies may have evolved since then. So who knows? Um,
Yeah,
but
who
yeah,
knows? It's
that's
been it's been a long time since I've tried to buy anything like that. I also got some firepower too. So this is a Carabiner 99. Oh, I probably should have gotten closer. Carabiner 99. This is a Nazi rifle, bolt action, still works. But I haven't ever fired this, and it's been in my possession for 10 years. It's just that I'm not going to take this to a range and shoot the Nazi rifle. So I just clean it, keep it clean, oil it up every now and then so that it stays good for whoever may want it one day. I don't really know. My wife's grandfather brought this back. He was an MP in Europe during World War II, and so he brought this back, and he also brought back this Luger right here. Let me just sit this somewhere safe. Come on. Watch out, Falcon. We also brought back this Luger too. And so when he's not feeling well, he's about to get moved into a nursing home. Everybody starts like cleaning out his house and stuff. And so I see the rifle, and I'm like, what's gonna happen to the rifle? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, do you want to sell it? And he's like, do you want it? And I'm like, yes. He's like, well, you can have it if you promise to keep it in the family. And I'm like, absolutely, sure. And he's like, well, if you want that, would you like to see the Luger? And I'm like, yes, please. Because like during World War II and even like after, like this was the most prized possession that a soldier could bring back from the European campaign. Like this was it. And people like these things are notoriously dangerous. Again, I haven't shot this thing, but like it's just really cool. And then he started telling me the story behind it, which is even cooler because it's cool to have something, but it's awesome to have a good story to go with it too. So he was saying that when they got to this, he helped to liberate a concentration camp. And this Luger belonged to one of the Nazi captains that was there. And that the strap that holds this here is all ripped. He said he used to like apparently, according to the prisoners there, he'd flip it open all the time because he thought it was a cowboy, right? And he was always drawing down on somebody. And just a total evil piece of shit. But anyway, he got that. I have the paperwork that he had to fill out to bring it home. It's in the gun cabinet back there. But it's just really cool stuff. I can see why like some people would not be interested in that kind of stuff. But it's really cool. I've always been interested in like vet bring backs, things that veterans bring back from war, because it not only just talks about the war itself, but it's like the intrinsic value of something that you see and something that you feel like you've earned. There's almost like this like a blood tie to this item, like almost like a totem in a way. So it's just very interesting stuff. And again, something else is like you're free to have it. Just promise to keep it in the family. and I will. Like I said, as long as anybody, my kids that want it, they're willing to have it. So that's my non comic book collectible stuff.
So, does your collection include anything from the Pacific Theater then from World War II, or?
Oh yeah, I got a bunch of stuff from the Pacific. So like, here, let me just do this real quick because this is a fairly interesting story in itself. If I move my screen, my computer will crap itself. So this is the flag that's just over there. It's known as a meatball flag or a Japanese good luck flag. And depending on who you talk to, one person has told me that it says that it's a good luck flag for people about to go to war, and these Japanese soldiers all died and they're famous. And then I have somebody else that also reads Japanese that says that it is a celebration flag for when a group returned home. So believe whatever you want to believe. But yeah, that's something that I got on eBay. Like, eBay's my best friend. I swear to you, I don't know what I would do without eBay. Like,
Yeah,
I'm bored. Like, let's see
Eh,
what's happening on eBay,
have more
or
money in your pocket for one.
yeah. Or I'm mad. I'm gonna do a little bit of revenge shopping. Where's eBay? So that's that. Besides that, my wife's her paternal grandfather, who was in the Navy, and again, this is his hat. He I have his like jungle knife that he brought back, and it's huge. It's like this big. It's like a Bowie knife, like on steroids, and it's just for like really just tearing down bamboo. So it's over in the gun cabinet. I have my maternal grandfather's medals that are just over there. I can get them down because I didn't know if you would want to see them or anything. But he brought back this ring that he took off of a Japanese soldier, and it's beautiful. It's silver, and it's got like this logo inside of it. It's like you know, everyone is familiar with the yin yang. It's black and white. Well, this is like a three-part yin yang, and so it's got like three of those things, and like red and blue and yellow, and it's really pretty. But other than that, that's pretty much all that I have that's from the Pacific. I have a bunch of stuff that's from Europe too. Like, I got a Nazi banner that's over there. It's like 7 foot long. It's huge. It was meant to go on outside of like a big building, and got a cool story with it. The guy that I bought it from, his father brought it back, and he traded it for a Russian was setting it on fire, and he's like, "Hey, wait, don't burn that flag. I will give you um, a pack of Lucky Strikes for this flag." So they made that little trade right there. So it's got these cool little burn marks and stuff. So just a lot of cool stuff.
Hey, can I see the Japanese flag again that you just showed the picture of?
Yeah,
You
sure.
said the good luck flag.
Yep, I'm on it. There you go.
Yeah, I've never seen one of those anywhere.
Really?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I'll have to research that.
Yeah, if
Um,
you ever find yourself bored or anything, just go to eBay or Google or whatever and just type in Japanese good luck flag. And on eBay, there are hundreds of them for sale. I wanted one that was clean, but you can find some on eBay that are covered with blood. Some that are really just really wrinkled, because a lot of these were just shoved in a duffel bag, brought home, and then put up and forgotten about. But this one that I have, it was cared for. Like, it was put up, it was nice and flat and folded and stuff. There's tons of them on the internet for sale.
yeah, and so much of that stuff. I mean, the story behind most of the things that you have. It sounds like,
Mhm.
but so much of the stuff that you get on eBay, you don't know what the story is behind it, which is a lot of the time the most interesting part of what you collect. I mean,
Yeah.
for example, I bought a couple of Japanese flags at an auction in an in-person auction, and a rising sun and a kamikaze flag. Know absolutely nothing about them. Um, Nobody there, none of the relatives were there at the auction. I tried to get some sort of a backstory and history on them. I bought the Type 99 they had there for sale. Bought a Nambu they had there for sale. So obviously somebody brought that stuff back, but nobody that was there, part of the family, knew anything other than it was dads or it was grandpas. That
Yeah.
was it. So history kind of died right there with them. Other than the items are still alive, but the story's gone.
Yeah, and I totally understand that too because like my mom's dad, he only talked about the war like he had to be like fucked up drunk. That's the only way that he would talk about it. And then once he was like sloppy drunk, he would just start talking about all the stuff that he saw. But other than that, that was it. And so um yeah, there's and dudes didn't talk about their feelings and stuff 80 years ago. So yeah, I can see somebody going through something like that, bringing something back, and then just not wanting to ever talk about it. I get that.
Mm. Um, Definitely some unique collectibles there. So that you said anything that interests you end up collecting.
Yeah.
That's one good way to go about it. That's a way to have lots of collectibles around the house. So you got like a storage building, you got everything in, and
No.
uh,
No. So like originally everything went in this man cave, but as my comic book collection has expanded, some things have had to spill out into the accompanying bedroom. And so like I have a ton of antique tools. Like so what you see the comic book side, right? And a little bit right here of some military stuff. But on the other side, like it looks like a friggin' Cracker Barrel. And even on the other side of this wall, like I have all of my grandfather and great grandfather and great great grandfather's tools. Like I have this huge saw that it's a two-person saw that you just
right.
I've got it. It's on the adjacent wall. It's huge. Horseshoes, just stuff like that. Like I collect all kinds of stuff. Like flags, I love flags. I don't know why. It's just weird. I just love flags and they take up a lot of space. So I have a 48 star American flag that's out there too. Um, I used to have a World War II typewriter. I had to move it out when I got Denny O'Neill's typewriter. It took its spot, so it got shoved out. But as far as like other things, like I even like Legos. Like Legos are fun. I'll play Legos. I'll build those, and you build them, and so you kind of like have to keep them. So um, I don't have anything weird like human skin or anything like that. It's also like if it looks to me like someday someone else would want it, then why not buy it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think most of the things I buy is nobody else would want that but me. So that means I got to have it. So people love to see me coming.
Well,
Um,
as long as you're happy, man, that's all that matters, Scott. Just being
yep.
happy.
Yep. All right. Ready for your last keyword?
Sure.
Last keyword. Let's go with plane.
I guess it
And
doesn't matter.
you can make that be PLAIN or PLANE.
All right.
Whatever way is easier for you to use it in a sentence.
Okay.
All right. Question number 7, the one you didn't have any time to prep for.
Okay.
The family. I've heard you talk about. I heard you mention your daughter earlier. I think you said you got a son.
Mhm.
You bought a Ultimate Fallout 4 that was his to play with. Is that right? Didn't
No, I don't.
Did you say you bought your? I thought you bought your kid a book. That was no. All right, I've watched somebody else.
Okay.
But you set aside. I thought I heard you say on one of your videos where you were like Saturday was play day, or you had
Yeah.
the whole day planned for for family time. Um, Now, how does the family as a whole play into
You're
all
right.
of
I'm
your?
sorry. I forgot. I was thinking about this video game or something. Yes, I bought Ultimate Fallout 4, first appearance of Miles Morales for my son. Yes, you're right. My bad.
Okay, good. I wasn't hallucinating. um, which I mean, that's how old is he?
He's 5.
All right, not many 5-year olds with first Miles Morales. That's
He's never touched it. It's actually at CGC in Sarasota right now.
okay. Um, so I mean, overall, how does family play in to not just comic collecting, but all of your hobbies, all of your collecting habits? I mean, do they, you know, what sort of a role do they all play?
Well, those little nerds, they're mine. They're my nerds, and that's the best thing about being a parent is inflicting upon them all this weird stuff that I like. And what's cool is they like it too. And I don't know why. It's not like I'm saying, watch Star Wars, watch Star Wars. It's like, hey, there's this guy named Luke. He's got a blue sword. You want to watch it? And they're like, yeah. Or hey, if you like Han Solo, Star Lord is just like him, but he's got like these like red eyes on his like helmet and stuff. And my 8-year-old daughter loves Guardians of the Galaxy so much more than Star Wars. Like for some reason, like that has become her Star Wars, which I'm fine with because Guardians of the Galaxy is a good time. And then like so I have a tendency to go overboard. Like so my kids, my son likes these things called they're Imaginext superheroes, and you got the whole DC line, and it's every DC character, villain and good that you can imagine, but they're this big. And so when he started liking those, I just went nuts. I'm like, oh, you like these three? Let's get you 60 more. And he's learning all these characters, and he would call Red Tornado Red Tomato. And I'm like, no, it's Red Tornado. And it's fun to correct them. And then they ask questions about this stuff. Like, I don't understand. So, like, there's, and there's so many great cartoons now. Like, the things that they have now, it's just, I mean, we had good stuff in the 80s, right? So like they like Teen Titans, and because they love Teen Titans Go, from Cartoon Network, the silly one, they love it so much that the Flash, I mean, Robin is one of my son's favorite characters, and he wants to be Robin, and he wants Robin pajamas, and I'm like, well, that's cool. I'm glad that you're into comic books and stuff, but when I was a kid, like Robin was lame, like
Right.
Robin was not cool. And so like they love everything. Um I unboxed that He-Man collection, and the next day over that weekend that preceded it, it's like, hey, I got a surprise for y'all. We're gonna play with some He-Man toys. And we had fun with that. Um my daughter, she was taking Tila and Evelyn, and they were having a dance competition. I'm like, that's not what's supposed to happen, but we're playing together. We do this stuff all together. Um, I haven't been to a con in a long time, but and I've only been to the Baltimore Comic Cons and Awesome Con in DC. And when we went, the first time when my daughter Ashley, she was just maybe 2 months old, we meet the guys from Comic Book Man, the AMC show. And I remember they're like, "Sweet Jesus, that baby is so small. Did you just have her?" And it was cool because like she had this onesie, and so I'll show you this onesie she was wearing to her first con. It's
Oh my
signed by
God.
the guys from Comic Book Man. It's signed by Jim Starlin. Because so this was right after Avengers came out, and Thanos is like the big secret bad at the end.
And you were the father going around here, sign my baby.
Yeah. And so we took Johnny, my son, right? This is his onesie. It's signed by Neil Adams. And I have a picture of Neil Adams holding my son. He's just holding him and looking at him. and I take a picture, which costs $30, but whatever, Neil Adams, you got to make a living somehow. And I remember thinking, like, is he ever going to give me my kid back? But he did, you know. And I don't have that memory with my 1 year old Maggie because we haven't been able to do as much. But like, even this picture, the time I got to meet Stanley, at the time, my daughter was, I do everything backwards. She was 3. My son Johnny was 1. And so like I look and I'm like, that's great. I've met Stanley, one of the coolest people of all times, and my son is eating his hand. And my daughter, she gives zero shits about what's happening. Like she doesn't care at this time. But since then, like she's just gotten so into it, because I show her this picture. I'm like, look how ridiculous you look. You're standing right beside Stan Lee and you do not care at all, And so it's really fun and interesting. And that's just the comic book stuff. As far as the military stuff, like family has always been really big for me. Growing up, like we would just sit and all the relatives would talk about stories of ancestors doing funny things, whether it was telephoning for fish, which I don't even know if you've ever heard of that before. Um,
No,
it's when you take one of those old like crank telephones, you run a
right?
cable into the river, and you electrocute the fish. It's highly illegal. The fish just start bubbling up, and just pick them up out of the river and go home. Just stuff like that, and another uncle getting incredibly drunk and shooting the headlights out of the car behind. Just crazy stuff like that that anybody would go to federal prison for today. And just
Right.
hearing this stuff, and their family was always close to me, and family was always close to my wife. So I bring my kids down here and I just show them these pictures. I'm like, that was your great great blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. It's really important for them to remember this kind of stuff, and I just want to instill to them like family is important. It's the most important thing that there is. All right, and then besides that, like you got to have fun and enjoy life, and that's what comic books do for me. Like you know, I just sit and sometimes like I have a TV that's right there. I had to move a TV down here because when Game of Thrones was so awesome before it turned to crap, I'd come down here and scream at the TV. But sometimes I just sit in this little old chair right over there and I'll just look at my wall, just drink and sit and look at comic books because it's great, it's beautiful. And so just to look at all of this work that generations of creators they put their heart and soul into this medium, just for a paycheck, because a lot of the times for the first 30 years of the industry it was frowned upon. You didn't want to be in comic books, and but still they've left their stamp on life, and I would love to think that somehow I could leave my stamp on life, but I only see that through my children. So I don't know if that really answers your question, Scott, or if it's just kind of all around. But yeah, my family is everything to me, and I like to show them everything, and we do a lot together, and you know, w- yeah. I mean,
So,
I'm
and
just
the wife is on board with it as much as the kids are. She's into it. She's
no, no. So okay, so I've mentioned this. I don't know what channel or what video I said this on, but obviously you can't build a collection like this without a supporting wife. Like she has to sign off on all this. If like she come down here and she's like, "Sweet Jesus, that's where our money's going," so she understands and she approves and she gets it. But she's not a collector. She goes with me to like the Marvel movies, and we have watched every MCU movie together in the theater except for the first three. We did not. I watched Iron Man in 2008, but 2011 was crazy. We didn't see those. But since Avengers, we've seen every one. And in fact, like she told me today, she's like, "Oh, did you know that Shang-Chi's coming out Friday?" And it's because like she likes them too, but I'm not really interested in for some. It's just I don't know. It's probably going to be okay. I won't be going to the movies to watch Shang Chi,
I'll see it when it comes out, but I'm not like knocking any doors down to see it. But as far as that, like that's her thing. Like she doesn't collect anything else, you know.
Not shoes or purses or.
Well, I guess you could say that, you know. Yeah.
There's always some trade off somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up my questions. You got anything you wanna add or gloss back over? Anything you maybe forgot to touch on in any of those first six? Or
I don't know. Like I don't really think about what I'm saying. I just kind of open my mouth and just let whatever comes out goes. And so I won't really know that I've forgotten something until I rewatch the video, and then I'm like, ah, that would have been a great time to talk about this instead of that. I didn't really answer his question, but I could now. But yeah, I don't know. But you know, I do have some questions for you. Like, so where are you from, Scott?
southeastern Ohio.
Okay.
So it's the closest town, about 80 miles east of Columbus.
Okay. All right. I've been to I think it was Columbus I went to. My wife had a work function and we went there. And it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. Only time
Yeah.
I've ever been to Ohio and I loved it.
Interesting state. Yeah,
Well, yeah, so like my wife worked with someone and she's like, "You don't want to go there. It's not that fun." I'm from there. It's not that fun. But we went and we just had an awesome time. Like the city was going through like this like it's being rejuvenated, you know, and like it was just a lot of fun. We went to a really cool bar and met some people. And it was fun. There was like when we go traveling, I like to watch either like diners, drive-ins, and dine outs or whatever that Guy
Yeah.
Fieri's place show is. And there was like this college like kind of place that sold these gigantic burgers. And so like, you know, we went there and it was just a lot of fun. It was, yeah, I
Yeah,
like Ohio.
Columbus is definitely a college town, Ohio State.
Yeah,
Yep.
Buckeyes.
Yep.
Next question. Is that a Zippo that you're flicking?
No, it is a
Oh, a switchblade.
an infidel.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
It sounded like a
this is my fidget spinner. I've got more of these than I should, but yeah, that's one of my collections is knives.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like knives too.
knives and guns. You can never have enough of them.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I
Are,
can't
you-
really.
are you just killing time while you try and come up with your half question?
No, like yeah, I honestly like I don't really know how I'm gonna put these together. So I'm supposed to take these 4 words and ask a question with them.
Ask yourself a question using those 4 words.
All right, so let's think about this.
And one of the words can actually be the answer to the question if you want. You just have to use those 4 words.
Okay. Cardboard, ivory, vision, plane. It sounds like I'm about to like hypnotize like the Winter Soldier. Cardboard, ivory. Um, okay. So if I was going to get on an airplane, if I was going to get on a plane, I would want to make sure that let's see. I'm no good at this. I'm telling you, I'm not creative at all. Okay. If you had to ride a cardboard plane that had zero vision, what smuggled thing from Africa would you want to take with your carry-on? That's the dumbest. And so the answer would be ivory, a piece of ivory.
All right.
That was god
That wo-
awful.
that worked. Highly illegal, but that works.
I've actually muted myself. Whoops. All right, what was that?
I said that's highly illegal, but that works.
I was getting feedback, so I was turning down my monitor, and next thing I know, it's like, oh god, I've muted myself.
Yeah, you didn't mute your microphone though, so we heard it all. All right, awesome. Very good effort on that question. You actually one of the better questions and answers.
Well, thank you. You're being very kind. I appreciate it.
I believe you are the first person to actually use one of the keywords as your answer, which it's bonus points for that one.
Yeah, I didn't know that I could actually do that. So that's a spur of the moment thing right there.
Good thinking on your feet there. All right. Well, awesome episode. Les, you got any closing thoughts?
Well, besides like my typical sign off or anything else?
Yeah, now besides your typical sign off, yeah, you got any? Any parting shots, words of wisdom, anything of that nature you want to leave us with before we go?
Yeah, like I said this before on I did an interview with Robert the G-Man, and it's like, if I have to impart any kind of advice, I would say this, get out there and break some eggs. Like I never thought that I could have a YouTube channel, so I didn't do it for so long, and then I did it, and so like my message is like, you may not think that you can create a YouTube channel, but you probably can if you just sit down and think about it. And chances are you're going to find an awesome group of people. And that's been the best thing for me. I've met some really awesome people. And it's so different than normal life. Like in normal life, you're like stuck with the people that you just meet. And it's like, this is it. I don't necessarily like you, but like our kids get along. And so that's something.
Right.
The YouTube comic book community is completely different. Like I don't have to talk to somebody that my kids like. Like I only talk to people that I like. I've seen you on like Chip's show tons of times, and I always enjoy talking to you, Scott. And it's the same thing with like every other person that I do interviews with. I don't ever just do an interview with someone that I don't know. It's because like I like these people. I like their content. I like what they're doing. And it's fun. It's so much fun. And you only get to experience that by creating a YouTube channel. So if you think that you can do it, you should. If you think you can't, do it anyway, So break some eggs.
Never know till you try.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good advice. Good advice.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that'll wrap up this episode. Until next time, I'm Scott from Hoarder's Hide. And
all right.
Now's when you can sign off. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Kenny Caps from Caps on Comics. Over at my channel, I do like first appearances, evolutions. I talk about comic books mostly, but I also look at toys, action figures, and stuff like that. I even talk occasionally about antiques. And in between all that stuff, I'm also doing giveaways. I like to do monthly giveaways. When I hit a milestone as far as a 400 or 500 or whatever, which I hadn't hit 500 yet, I do a giveaway too. So there's always something there. So besides those, I do Friday Funds every Friday at 8, and that's where I play a song, and you get the chance to name that song. Every Saturday at 6:30, I'm putting out new content, and for a while, I was not there to chat with the community, but I'm doing that now, and I will continue to do that. So every 6:30 on Saturday, new content for me. I'll be in the live chat, and I'm Kenny Caps. This is Caps on Comics, and I'll see you in the next video.